Okay, guys. Some of you met me yesterday at the teaching lab. I'm Maria Rodriguez. I'm a PhD student at this department, and I will be your TA for some units of this class. In September, I will be here in person, but I'm traveling to the Amazon rainforest to do field work for my thesis, so most of my coordinations with you, conversations will be on Zoom in the next units, okay? But I'm here this month, I think. So, okay, so I'm going to introduce today the lab that we will do next Wednesday. So this lab is related to the water crisis that happened in Flint. I hope you have watched some videos posted on ELMS, and maybe you have read the lab protocol for next week. Cool. So I will need your help with this, so I'm going to ask you some questions. So who can tell me what happened in Flint? Like briefly, general? Okay.
Generally speaking, they were initially getting water from the lakes provided by Detroit. They switched over to the Flint River. In the process, due to sort of different treatment needed for Flint River, they ended up creating a compound issue where like erosion and pipes and the release of like into the water.
So what kind of things they had in the water?
So the Flint River, unlike the Detroit water system, had a bacterial issue where they needed to add additional chlorine to be treated. However, in the process, they also failed to substitute, I think it's like oxychlorine something.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but they stopped
okay.
treating it with that. But then these free chlorine ions started interacting with the iron and lead pipes, leading to the corrosion and then eventual flaking of the lead into the public water supply.
Okay, so they had metals. They have metals in the drinking water, right? And what do you think this is an issue, to have metals in the drinking water?
Because lead in general is extremely poisonous to humans, and it's not just if you ingest it, but also like if you were to inhale the water vapors, it can cause you like extreme sickness. And the county also just did not care. They kind of like tried to cover it up by doing different water testing that would they flushed the toilet before they actually tested it, so it wouldn't show.
Okay, cool. So you know a lot about this already. So okay, so as you said that this problem started in 2013 when they were buying the Flint city were buying the water from Detroit, and Detroit was treating the water very good. They have a good quality. They have all the treatments recommended by EPA and everything. But they wanted to save money, so they decided to change, and they wanted to buy water from another authority called, has a difficult name for me, Corinne Dane, something like that. And but this new authority, it wasn't ready to deliver the water to Flint because they needed to build a new pipe. So when they were building this pipeline, Flint decided to take the water from Flint River, as your partner said. And they decided to treat the water by themselves, but they didn't do a very nice job with that. So after the switching, the residents in Flint started to see red color in the water, like a weird taste. And a year after that, in summer 2014, the city issued an alert about Escherichia coli. This is a pathogen, a bacteria in the water, and that bacteria can cause several diseases in humans. So they issued a boil advisory, so people needed to boil the water to get rid of this bacteria. And they decided to add more bleach to kill this bacteria. But they have another problem, that the Flint River water quality was very bad. So I don't know if you watched one of the videos posted. There was a lady saying that you could find cars in the river, like they use the river as a trash can or something. So they had a lot of garbage in the river. So, and this means a high natural organic matter concentration in the water. So what happened when the bleach finds the natural organic matter in the water that can react with this organic matter, forming THM. THM are different products. One of them is chloroform, and this is very toxic to humans. So if we ingest these kind of products, we can have these health problems. can damage our organs in the body, like liver, kidney, heart, and several organs in the body. So they decided that they needed to get rid of the organic matter in the river. So in order to do that, they added this substance. It's iron chloride. This substance is a coagulant, so the iron binds the organic matter, forming like coagulates. That this is part of the drinking water treatment. They add this coagulant in a tank, and then the organic matter deposit on the bottom of the tank. So that's how they get rid of the organic matter. But by adding this, they were adding chloride too. So the iron goes with the organic matter, but they have the chloride in the water, a lot of chloride in the water, and this chloride can cause corrosion in the pipes, as your fellow said before. So with the previous water source that was Detroit was using phosphate to prevent the corrosion in the pipes. But these guys from River didn't use the phosphate because they were saving money, in theory. So after doing that, and the corrosion started, and General Motors had a plant in Flint, and they stopped using the water because it was corroding the steel parts in the plant. So, and that's the big problem. Why they have these problems? Because they had pipes made of lead. Lead is a material that was used to make pipes for a long time, since the Roman Empire, and in U.S. a lot of pipes made in the 30s, 40s were made of lead because it's very easy to make pipes with this material. But the problem is that it can leach. The lead can leach in the water, causing these health problems. So the EPA is not allowing drinking water systems to have lead pipes anymore. So we can't find lead pipes at the stores nowadays. But many cities in U.S. and other countries have all water distribution systems with lead pipes. They still have lead pipes. So there is an interesting question here. If we still have lead pipes, why don't we have lead problems all the time? And why do you think we don't have lead problems?
Because they're coated in the protective layer.
Okay, cool. Very good. So this was what Detroit was doing before. Detroit was using phosphate, adding phosphate in the water, and the phosphate reacts with the lead of the pipes, forming a scale in the inner surface of the pipes, like this. And this scale is protecting the pipe, so the pipe is not exposed directly to the water and to this bleach and other compounds in the water that can corrode the pipe. So this was what Detroit was doing that, but Flint stopped doing that, and that's why they had problems. So I'm going to explain a little. I don't know if you have heard about solubility product before in other classes. So you don't need to know a lot about this now, and River will explain this in Unit 7, I think.
Yeah, mental units.
Yeah. So what I want to explain now is that there is an equilibrium reaction for a solid when a solid is in a solution. So for example, here we have, this is a solid that can dissolve in their constituents in the water. This is an equilibrium reaction. And the constant for this equilibrium reaction is called solubility product, it's a fixed number, it's a constant. So by looking at the solubility product of a compound, you can know if this compound is soluble in water or is not soluble in water. So when you have a large constant, then the compound is soluble. But if you have a very small constant, it's not soluble. So for example, we have two compounds here. This is lead chloride and lead phosphate. These two compounds, we can have it in the water distribution system with lead pipes, because we have chloride and we have phosphate if they are using phosphate in the system. So you have the solubility product constants here. They are very small, the both of them, but this is much smaller than this one. So by looking at this, what compound do you think is soluble in water? Which one of these is soluble? I said when the constant is very small, it's not soluble. So which one is soluble there?
was it?
Which one?
The first one.
The first one. This is soluble, and this is not soluble. So that's why they were using phosphate, because by adding phosphate, the lead reacts with the phosphate, forming this, and this precipitates over the pipes, forming the scale. So this is the way we can protect the pipes from the corrosion. So that's why they use phosphate. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. So this is the after. After they switched, they were not adding phosphate anymore. So they had this layer is called passivation layer from the before when they were using the Troid water, but because they didn't use the phosphate anymore, this layer was dissolving over the time. So now they have the pipes exposed to the water. And they had a lot of chloride because they were adding bleach and they were adding the iron chloride. So they have a lot of chloride. And the chloride, the bleach and the chlorine and the chloride can corrode the pipes. And also the oxygen, dissolved oxygen in the water. And this has to, this is related to the redox potential. I don't know if you have learned about redox reaction before, and I think River will explain some redox in Unit 7 maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, a little, but yeah, you don't need to know like a lot now, but I want to.
You want a pen?
You
I
have
think
a
a pen is.
So I want to show you the redox reaction. So when they have the bleach, the bleach is reduced to this, to chloride. And this is going to oxidize the lead from the pipes. This is not very good, sorry. They have the lead, this is lead 0, is going to be oxidized to lead 2. And this lead 2 leaches into the water, and that's why they have dissolved lead in the water. So this is related to the redox potential of the chlorine, of the bleach, and of the lead. And also the dissolved oxygen, this is very bad, sorry. Dissolved oxygen can be reduced to this. So this can also oxidize the lead from the pipes. So that is why. And this is another example with an iron pipe. Iron pipes can also have these problems. It's the same thing. This is you have bleach and you have dissolved oxygen. You can have the iron oxidize the iron, and the iron leaches into the water, and that's when you have the water red color in the water because of the iron. So they have pH issues as well. The Troid was keeping the pH of the water around 10. It's very high pH for the water, but they did that because they wanted to protect the scale inside the pipes. But the Flint didn't do the same thing, so the pH was decreasing with time from, they started, I think, decrease from 8 to, this is like 7.3, something like that. So this was causing more problems. And this is related to the Le Chatelier principle River talked about before. In water, and you will learn this in Unit 3, I think, about alkalinity. The
Yes.
water has carbonates. This is a natural minerals in water. They have carbonates. The carbonates help the water to keep the pH stable. So if you add acid to the water, the acid is going to react with this carbonate. This is the acid with the carbonate, forming water and CO2, and forming bicarbonates and other substance. But these carbonates are going to react with the protons, with the acid, and help keep the pH of the water stable. So we don't have problems with that. But because in this case the pH in the Flint water was decreasing, the protons, what happened when the pH decreased? What happened with the concentration of protons? The concentration of protons increases or decreases when the pH decreases? Yeah, increases.
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
When the pH decreases, the concentration of protons increases. So because of the Le Chatelier principle, if this is going to increase, the equilibrium wants to be in equilibrium, so the equilibrium wants to deplete this excess of protons, and it's going to form more of these products. It's going to consume the carbonate. So the carbonate can react with lead, in the water and form a solid. This is part of the scale. This is part of the passivation layer in the pipes. What happens if we are adding protons? The protons are reacting with the carbonate. This concentration of carbonate is going to decrease, and because the equilibrium wants to be in equilibrium, it's going to form more of this because this is decreasing, and we want to have this constant. So it's going to dissolve the scale in order to go there, to form more carbonates. So when the pH decreases, we are dissolving the scale. So this is bad for the water system. Make sense? Yeah? Okay, so this is another example, it's the same thing. If the pH decreases, the protons, what happens with the protons? Increases. The protons increases. This is another solid in the scale, lead oxide. If this concentration increases, the equilibrium wants to be in equilibrium, so it's going to go to the right. It's going because we want to deplete this. It's going to react with this, so we are dissolving the scale again. And what happens if the pH increases? When the pH increases, the protons decreases and the OHs increases, very good. So if the pH increases, the OH increases, and because the equilibrium wants to be in equilibrium, it's going to react with the dissolved lead, forming lead hydroxide. This is a solid that can be in the scale too. So if the pH increases, we are forming more solid, more scale. This is good for us, okay? So that's why they try to have the pH in a high pH. And yeah, let's talk a little about the cost. You have watched the videos. They talk about that. They have damage in human health and also economic damage. So the EPA, after problems with metals in drinking water, established the lead and copper rule. This is the safety concentration of lead and copper in water distribution systems, drinking water distribution system. So the concentration of lead that we can have in our water distribution system is 0.015 milligrams per liter. This is 15 ppbs, the ppbs that we were talked about before. So this is the safe concentration. And they found in Flint 30,000 ppbs of lead. This is the highest concentration they found. And they estimate from 6,000 to 12,000 children exposed to this concentration. Is very bad for children because they are developing their body, so they are more affected than us. And a microgram of lead per deciliter of blood in a child can cause a decrease in IQ, 1 microgram. They found 33 micrograms, the highest level of lead in children's blood. And they had economic damage too. So these are some examples. In January 2016, the US government pledged $170 million in aid to the state of Michigan. Most of this money was to repair infrastructure, to change the lead pipes to other pipes, copper pipes. They are used now, copper pipes. In August 2020, $600 million deal between the state and the residents of Flint that were harmed after more than 2 years of negotiations. And in January 2021, the news reported that some authorities, like the Michigan governor, health director, and other ex-authorities, are going to be charged after new investigations they are doing. So next week in the lab, we are trying to mimic the problem in Flint. This is the lab from next week, but this lab will last like 9 weeks. Part of the lab you are going to do it at home. The next week we are preparing the materials that you will take at home, and you will, but it's very easy, so don't worry. Okay. So you are working in groups of 3 people. So each group is going to prepare 3 jars, 1 per person, 3 jars with the phosphate that we want to use as corrosion inhibitor. We are trying to create a passivation layer in pipes. We will work with pieces of pipes, but copper pipes, because as I said before, we can't find lead pipes at the stores now. So we are working with copper pipes, but we can see the corrosion in copper pipes too. So you will prepare the 3 jars with phosphate solution, and then other 3 jars with a mix of chemicals used in drinking water treatment, like the ones I talked before, like the iron chloride. The iron sulfate is also is a flocculation agent. The phosphate for corrosion control, the bleach, and we will play a little with pH, so we will have different pHs and different concentrations of these chemicals. Each group will prepare a different mix of chemicals with different pHs. So you will have like a box. Each one of you will have a box, and you will take home 1 jar with the phosphate, 1 jar with the mix of chemicals, the pipe, and some tubes to collect samples. And you will put the pipe first in the phosphate solution, have it there for a few weeks. If we are lucky this time, you can see the passivation layer because it has like a bluish color over the pipes. And then after a few weeks, you will change the pipe and you will put the pipe in the other jar with the mix of chemicals. You will keep it there for a few weeks, and then you will be able to see the corrosion. This is very visible. And then you will bring back the materials to the lab. We will take samples of the jars, and we will analyze the samples with an instrument that we have here to analyze metals in water. And you will see the concentration that you have of copper and other chemicals in the water. You will also collect tap water samples from your tap water at home, and we will analyze the tap water samples to see if you are fulfilling the EPA lead and copper rule. Usually you are good, but last semester we had 3 people not with high levels of metals in their drinking water from home. But don't worry, because this is not the common thing. And then with the data from the analysis, the concentration of metal dissolved in water, you will prepare a lab report, but this is like in November, so don't worry about it now. So for now, we are only preparing the solutions, and you don't have a lab report for this lab. So it's the first one, so it's very easy. You have videos. We will post more videos on ELMS if you want to have more information. And this is my email. If you have questions, you can ask anytime. Okay? Yes.
So was like the lead sulfate solution like more expensive? Like why didn't they have enough of it? You know?
The phosphate?
Yeah, why did they stop treating it that way?
Because it's expensive. So if you have to buy more chemicals, to put more chemicals in a water treatment, you are spending money. So they wanted to do the minimum effort. So that's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
They also replaced all
I
the
think they
like
mentioned
video that are the $9
Yeah, I